Hello, 𝗪𝗵𝘁 here. Thank you for joining us here on our social media channels. I created a video here on how I determine value of a listing and create a comparative market analysis. So hope you like this video. Please like and share if you do, and I will see you on the other side of our intro. Hello, my name is Sean. How you doing today? So I'm going to share a video with you on my method of finding a value of a property that I'm going to go on a listing appointment for. So we call this a CMA, the comparative market analysis, very similar to an appraisal. It is an opinion of value, and that's what an appraisal is. An appraisal is just an opinion of value of a certified appraiser that the bank is hired to, make sure that the value is correct. And the market value is actually created by what a buyer will buy for and what a seller will sell for. So when we talk about value of a property, it's important to understand that an appraisal or a CMA is an opinion of value, and the actual value is determined by what the fair market will bring, and that is what a buyer will pay and what a seller is willing to sell for. And that's the definition of value, basically economics 101. Okay, so I'm going to be using three different tools here. We're going to use the MLS, okay, and this may not look like your MLS. Your MLS software may be different, but all the features that I'm going to be using in the MLS today to show you how I obtain value exist within your MLS. It just may look a little different. So just pay attention to the general tools that I'm using within the MLS and find those in your own MLS. We're going to be using a property profile, which is a title profile. Ours is called Real List, and that's available through our MLS as well. And then we're going to be using Cloud CMA. There are other different CMA softwares. I like personally Cloud CMA, and it comes free from the MLS system. So you'll find that in your MLS if it's a free benefit that your MLS provides. So you access Cloud CMA right down here on the toolbar. You can see where it says Cloud CMA right there. And so the property that we're going to be looking at today is a property in Simi Valley. It's 747 Watson in Simi Valley. So I'm going to go ahead and put that address in here. I'm going to hit search. And the reason I'm pulling this up is this is going to go into my pre-listing package. This is a property profile. It's a 4 bedrooms. This is our subject property that we're talking about. So it's a 4 bedroom. It's got 1 bathroom according to the MLS. And this is all data that's pulled actually from the MLS and or title data. 1,954 square feet on a 7,300 square foot lot built in 1964, and it was last sold in 2008. Okay, my client is Maria and Barton Holmes. I'm meeting with them today, and I'm going to go ahead and print them up the CMA. And the CMA is a report. It's about anywhere from I've seen them from 40 pages, as many as 60 pages, depending upon how many comparables that you use. And I generally use the active listings within a mile radius, and I use all of the active listings that are similar to this property, as well as any of the pendings. So there may be 3, 5, 6, 8 active and pending listings, and that's what's going to make your report longer. I do only use 3. If I can help it, I use 3 sold comparables, and those sold comparables are going to be a property that's similar, a property that's inferior, and a property that's superior. And the reason I'm doing that is to show the client, keep it simple, and I'm going to explain in the listing presentation that the market is determined by the sold comps, not the active and not the pending. The pending is kind of a snapshot of what buyers are willing to pay right in the moment, in real time. And the actives are a wish list on what the sellers are trying to get, but those properties haven't sold yet. And the solds are what they've actually closed for, meaning they went through the appraisal process, the lending process, the negotiation process, and have closed escrow. And the reason we're doing that is an appraiser is going to use those sold comps. They're not going to use active and pending comps. And in our MLS, we have active under contract, which is also a form of pending. So you really have 3 statuses. You have active, pending, and you have solds. Okay, and you also have expireds. And in a down market where it's a buyer's market, we even incorporate expireds, canceled, and withdrawns into our CMA. But in an up market like we're in right now, that I'm going to do this presentation for, we don't use expireds. It's just not necessary. Okay, so this property profile has some, all the titling information, the zoning information, the tax information. I generally get value from 3 different places. I use the property profile and I use the comparables tab. I also use the real AVM, which is down here on this report. This is all the tax data compared to the MLS data. Here is a cell indicator. This is the probability, and this is uses an algorithm within all of the data to determine what's the chance that this person is actually selling. And you can see here it's moderate, but I don't know the motivation yet. I haven't gone on the listing appointment to find that out, but I do know that they are considering selling, and they're considering selling now, and they're interviewing multiple agents as well. Then here is your real AVM. This is called a real automated value module, and it uses an algorithm based upon all the data that's in the comparable report here, the market trends, the neighborhood, all of this data up here to come up with a value. And I generally look at this value in 3 ways. I look at the price here, I look at the range, and then I look at the confidence score. The higher this number, the better. The range here is kind of all over the place a lot of times, so I typically use this as my bottom number, and this is my top number. So you can see here, we could say this property is going to be worth somewhere in the neighborhood of 640 to 670. Now this doesn't know upgrades. For instance, maybe they put a pool in and it doesn't have a pool listed up top, then it won't factor that into this. It doesn't know upgrades, like if they've upgraded the kitchen and didn't pull a permit, and that data is not in here, so it's got an upgraded kitchen and this data is not factored in, then that can affect this number here. So just use this as a loose number, not as the end-all be-all value or what opinion of price, really. Okay, so 640 to 670, that's just a number we're going to keep in our head at the moment. And then we're going to come over here to comparables, and we are going to look at the comparables report. Now remember, I haven't looked at anything to do with what this property looks like. I haven't visited it yet. A lot of times, if you get a chance to visit as a pre-listing meeting, just to come by and see the property, that is always a good idea. But a lot of times you don't know what the property looks like unless you can find, photos of it. And I can tell you right here, here's our subject property on Watson Avenue. And it was, like I said, $375, sold in 2008, $191 a square foot. And there are no pictures here. So we'll find when we go to the MLS that there's probably not any pictures in the MLS, even back in 2008 when the property was sold last time. Okay, so you can see here's a cluster of all the different comparables. I'm looking here, there's 2 on Watson, one at 86, one at 26. I'm looking at the top properties that are closest to the subject property. So if you see here, you can see here there's the pin, and we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we generally want to try to stay in the neighborhood, and I'll explain why when we get to the aerial photo. Okay, so you can see here that if there was any photos, you'd be able to see right here underneath my picture. It's hard to see here on this, but there's a camera there. There would be access to all the photos that are available for these listings. We're going to also go look at these listings on the MLS itself. Now, the reason we're looking here is because if there's a property sold as a for sale by owner in the neighborhood and it is not in the MLS because it's a for sale by owner, it didn't go through the traditional realtor and MLS system, then you could find that property here. If you don't look here, you'll miss it, and you'll miss a comparable. And that could be your highest comparable. It could be your lowest comparable. It definitely could affect your listing price. Okay, so that's what we're looking at here. We're looking at 2 on Watson, Appleton, and Beaver, and then we can always we're going to leave this tab open so we can come back to it. Okay. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here. So I've kind of got an idea, 640 to 670, and if I look at these comparables, I can see, look, 640, 700, 800, 780. Okay, so I'm seeing a couple here that are over my 640 to 670 number already. There's 3 here that are over, well over. So that's something to definitely keep in the back of your mind. I would also recommend making some notes on a piece of paper so that you've got some scratch notes. We're going to come over here to the MLS system now. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this property. I've already gone into my system here, and I went to criteria, and I did nothing. All I did was put in the address of the property. And the reason I'm doing this is I want to first know where the property is, and I want to know how many times it's been on the MLS. Has it been listed recently? I just did a listing appointment recently where I just found out that the property had been listed 4 months ago, and I wouldn't have known that. The gentleman that did mention that he had it on the market, and it was on the market for a very short time. So that's definitely something I'm going to want to, research and find out about while I'm at the listing appointment. So I go into my MLS system. I don't mark any statuses here. Here you can see coming soon, active, pending is active under contract, and pending, those are both pending statuses, and closed. I come down here and I put in the address, and I put in the street, and I got results. Now let me see here if I can actually move this over here. And I'm going to go results. Okay. And you can see here that the property was on the market in 2008, 1, 2, 3 times as it canceled and withdrawn. And then it sold in 2008, and it's in here again at 2009. Now, I don't know why there's a difference here of about what looks like about a couple months here, and I'm not really sure why that is. That's kind of odd. It looks here like it was purchased as a short sale and then sold again as a standard sale, but both at 375. So this is probably all one and the same, but just it's really not material at this point. But we do know that our client bought it in 2008 for 375. So it's probably one sale here, not two. But the important thing is I can come to this listing and see and click here and look at the photos. And there's 7 photos according to this. And we're going to look, and guess what? There's no photos available. And so we can't look there. We can go to the next listing, and there's some photos of it. Okay, so there's looks like 10 photos here. And again, this is back in 2008, so they could have made some upgrades. It's got a nice little yard there, but not a lot of landscaping. There's a bathroom there that doesn't have too many upgrades. Master bedroom. And you can see how poor these pictures are. This is your typical average realtor photo here. Very poor, very small, lack of color. Presentation is not very good. We do take professional photography, and so that we have very nice photos when it comes to the MLS photos. But this is an example of poor photos. Pretty basic house, though. You can see kitchen was upgraded probably in the 80s. Looks like maybe have Corian or Formica countertops. I can click on this photo and it won't get any bigger. See, so it's really not a good photo. But we're trying to look into the photo and seeing, well, are the windows replaced? Does it have cottage cheese ceiling? Is there recessed lighting? We're looking at counters and cabinets and flooring, and we're looking into the photo. You can see here, it does have its own garage. It does have all concrete in the front, so the front presentation is kind of blasé as well. But we're looking here, the flooring. We're looking, is it the carpet stained? Is it got tile versus carpet, hardwood versus tile? We're looking at all these things because these are important things when we're doing a comparison to the other properties. Okay, so we're going to come here and we're going to just close this up, and now we're going to come back here. Now remember, we came here and all we did was put our address in here. So we're going to now take, we know that it's a 1,900 square foot. Go back to our subject property, 1,900 square feet. We know it's a 4-1. So we're going to come over here and we're going to go, I want to see everything that's coming soon, active, pending, active under contract, pending, and closed. We're going to go back 6 months on the time, because this is what an appraiser is going to do. Appraiser is going to go back 6 months. We want to stay within the comparables that is going to be used in the appraisal, because most of the time our buyer is going to be using financing. So we are going to have to deal with the appraisal. Now in this market, we're in a very seller's market. So buyers are releasing appraisal contingencies, but we still want to look and see what's within our appraisal range. We're going to come over here to bedrooms, and we're going to say everything that is a 4-bedroom and a 5-bedroom. I'm not going to look at 6 and 7 bedrooms. I'm not going to look at 3 bedrooms. I could go 3 to 5, just to see, because a bedroom is generally worth about $20,000 to $25,000. So if I have a property that's a comparable, and I'm comparing it to the subject property, and my subject property is a 4-bedroom, and I'm using a 5-bedroom, then I can actually deduct 20 to 25,000. If it's a 3-bedroom, I can add 20 to 25,000 and come up with a comparative value. And this is the approach the appraiser is going to use as well. They will take and make adjustments to that comparable, to the subject property or to the comparable, to compensate for extra bedrooms. Square footage isn't going to impact the value as much as you'd think. I've learned over the years that square footage is not as important, but bathrooms are not as important. Garage is important, but it's going to be a small variable. And so, but when you're looking at your subject property compared to the comparable properties, you do want to look at stuff like garage. You do want to look at pool. Pools definitely make the property worth more, but it's about 50 cents on the dollar. So if you've got a pool that looks like a $30,000 pool, then I would add about 15,000 in value. If you're or subtract if your home doesn't have a pool and the other comparable does, or if your property does have a pool and you're comparing it to another property that doesn't have a pool, then you're going to add about 50% of whatever you think the pool is worth. So if it looks like an amazing pool and it was probably $100,000, then maybe you're going to go 50,000, and you're going to add that to your comparable or subtract that from your comparable. Okay, so we're going to go bedroom. We can go 3 to 5. We'll do 3 to 5 at first, and we're going to do that because we want to make sure we have enough comparables. If we have a scarce number of comparables once we do the search, then we can manipulate this and go 3 to 5 or 4 to 5 and not use 3 bedrooms if we've got a lot of homes. The other thing is square footage. We're going to look at square footage. Now we know this is 1,900 square feet. We're going to go 300 square feet above and 300 square feet below. So it doesn't have to be exactly. So we're going to go 1,700 square feet to 2,300 square feet. Again, we can change this range if we have too many comparables. Okay. Now, right now, this is looking at this address specifically. So this is important. This is just the way I do it. There's lots of agents out there that maybe do it different ways. Again, this is just how I do it. And you can vary your way, but personally, I think this is a pretty good way. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to leave this address in here. I'm going to come up here to my map search tool, and I'm going to click on that, and it's going to have the bullet point in my property on my subject property. Actually, take that back. Let's take these statuses. I did this. It's not finding any property yet, but you can see now it says 5, right? So we're going to come back over here to the map search. I kind of went ahead of myself there for a little bit. So now there's the property. We're going to zoom this map out, and you can see here the aerial photo. Now, some things to note about the aerial photo. And if you haven't been out and drove by the property and previewed the listing, I'm not saying going inside. Maybe you didn't have an appointment with the seller, but you just did a drive-by and you checked out the neighborhood. It's important to note the type of neighborhood, because you could pull a comparable from this neighborhood or this neighborhood that's completely different than this neighborhood. And you can already see that the density in here is a smaller density, meaning the properties are not as close together as they are right in here. And if you zoom out, you can see properties that maybe are up here on the hill may have a view, and these down here on the flat do not. So it's important to know what you're looking at here on the aerial photo. We're not going to use a comparable over here if we've got plenty of data around here, because this we know is in the neighborhood, this is not. So this is important to note, okay? And so we're going to zoom out on the property just enough to take the radius tool, and we're going to do a radius search here, okay? The radius search is going to come over here and go out. We're going to go out and go out just close to the property. Doesn't have to be exact. And we're going to go out 1 mile. Now, we may vary this if we need more data or less data. We may go out closer or further out, maybe 1 mile to 3 miles. But generally, you don't need more than 1 mile. As you can see, 1 mile radius brings you into these other neighborhoods, which we just talked about, are different. And we want to use properties that are similar, okay? And one inferior, one similar, and one superior if possible. So 3 sold comps we're talking about. Now, once we did the radius, we're going to come back over here, and we're going to put in our statuses, active, pending, and sold. And we're going to come over here, and we're going to eliminate the address, And that is going to now bring in all of your comparables. You can see it went from 5 to 28. We have 28 comparables. That's too many. So we're going to come back over here and we're going to change this to 4 bedrooms. And I say too many. You're saying, well, what happens if we, we miss out on a property that's a 3-bedroom? You know what? You're going to get a good indication of value just by looking at the 4 bedrooms. We can also tighten up the square footage if we wanted to, but in this case, we're going to leave it 300 just to keep it simple and sake of time. We still have 22. That's a lot of comparables to have to look through. And the reason I say it's a lot is because we don't want to really confuse the issue. We want to try to get in as close to the property value as we can. So the next tool we're going to use to eliminate some of these properties is we're going to go to a list report here. And you see right here in the MLS, it tells you distance. So if I sort by distance, you can see here, this property is the closest to my subject, and the one down here at the bottom of the list is my furthest from my subject. Okay, but we're going to leave the sorting as by status right now, because now what it does is it goes status and then it goes by distance. You can see here, there's a whole bunch of solds, but this one here is the closest, and this one here is the furthest one in my solds. See how the difference here? So status, and then second criteria is going to be your distance to the subject. Because remember, if you look at the map, there's our subject property, and there's all the property around it. So we're going to try to stay within a close proximity. Now, remember, we had properties. We're going to go over here. These are the red are sold, the green are active. So we're going to take this and click this, and there's one on Appleton. Remember, and then we're going to click this, and we're going to check these off, because these are the ones that are closest. There's one on Talbot. There's one on Talbot. There's one on Talbot. There's 2 on Talbot. There's one on Rosette. And we could maybe go this one here, but this area looks a little different than this area. So I'm going to avoid using this one. And now you can see I only have really 4 properties that we know are in the same neighborhood. We don't want to go out here if we don't have to. Now, except for actives, I will include the actives because I want to show the client what their competition is within a mile radius of their property. And this is a pending, and you can see $1 million versus $756. Why are those different? These properties are different. There's something different. The lots are bigger. There's a view. There's the builder is different. So the property home size is different. There's something different about these. So we're not going to use these. And I probably won't even include that in an active sense because, again, it's not the same. We won't know until we look at it, okay? So we're going to come back over here to results, and you can see here there's our check marks, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the first comparable, and then we'll take a look and start actually comparing property to property. Okay, so now that we've got the properties identified, and here's the method how I did that. I pulled up all these properties, and these are in proximity to the subject property. I am going to mark off the active ones because I do include all of the actives, all of the pending, and under contract. And I only include typically 3 of the solds. And I usually try to go with 1 inferior, 1 similar, and 1 superior. Excuse me. So if you look here, we have these 2 active here. They're in the similar price range. And then there's this one here. It's an outlier of $1 million. Now, I told you I typically include all of the pending. Now, but if you look at this property, you'll see here that this is, it's a newer home. This one here is built in 1999. And if you look at the pictures here, you can see the styling is different. It's got a tile roof. It's a single story, very tall ceilings inside. It's a newer model. It has an amazing pool, a view, and it's in a different area. There's the backyard, pretty spectacular, probably about $100,000 pool there. And if you look at the inside, built-in barbecue, very nice. Very nice home. And if you look at the inside, you'll see the very tall ceilings, 10-foot ceilings, open floor plan. Okay, and then you compare it to a property like our listing, which looks like this. And if you look, this, if you remember correctly, I'll take you back. This is our subject property. See there? That's a model match to our subject property. See the roof line? And if you come over here, this property here is a model match to our subject property, okay? And it's not the same as the one that we just looked at with the 10-foot ceilings and the gorgeous pool. It's a different property, built in 64, not 1999. So I will not be including this as a comparable. This one here at $1,015,000, it throws off our price point. Now remember, our original price point when looking at the automated value was $640 to $670, and then we looked at the comparables here, and we saw here that there is some properties here that are selling in the 640, 700, 801, 780. Okay, remember there's 2-1 Watson here. Now, if you look at these dates of when these sold, let me expand that a little bit. You can see this one was in March. I'm sorry. This one here was in April of 2021. That's more than 6 months ago. So we're not going to include this one in our report. Okay, and this one here was August 9th. We would want to include this one in our report. So this is 626 Watson Ave. And if we come over here, you'll see there is no 626 Watson Avenue. And that's probably because this was probably a for sale by owner. Or maybe it was in a different MLS system. But for whatever reason, it's not coming up in my MLS search. It could be because of the criteria, like the bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage. It could be because of that. So let's slide this over and take a look at this. There you go. There's the reason. It's a 4-bedroom, which we are including 4 bedrooms. 626 Watson Avenue. It's a 4-bedroom. And the square footage is 1638. That's the problem. We are going 1,700 to 2,300. So we do want to include this one because it is right on the street. So the way we fix that is we come over here and we change our criteria to show 1630. I'm sorry. 1630 instead of 1,700, and then we come over here to results. Okay, and here all the ones with the different colors are the ones that we've selected. So we're gonna go with these two. We're gonna include this one. We're gonna include this one, and see the ones that have the different color. We're gonna include these. Now these were the original ones that we had selected. And we're looking for that one on Watson, remember. And again, it's not showing up here. So unfortunately, the only way to get this property into our report is doing it through the CMA software. Now, the CMA software you're using may be different. I like Cloud CMA. It's very robust. It's customizable. It's very presentable. I like the report. And I'll just give you an example of what it looks like when it's all done. Is you get a report that looks like this. Okay, and so I took this picture. This is a different property. I took this picture off of Google Earth View, Google Street View, because I hadn't gone out to the property yet. And you see here, you can see this is for a different property. Obviously, this is my basically my cover letter. Talks about what's important to us is ingenuity, relationships, teamwork, and being enlightened. It talks about my resume. Obviously, I was at Keller Williams for 16 years, so there's some mention of Keller Williams, a different company. Talks about EXP, the company I'm with. It talks about our belief system, our mission, vision, values, and perspective. Our CMA. Now, I created most of this in advance, and it's in a template form, and I'll show you where that fits into the CMA. This explains what a CMA is. It goes through and it gives you a nice color map with all the different statuses. Now these properties are coming from here, and I'll show you how to load those in. But the bottom line is all this comes very simply from the process that we're going through here, and it is also color photos. And I'm going to scroll down to a graphic that I love to explain on my listing presentation. And it explains the market, and it works in a buyer's market, a seller's market. We're in an intense seller's market right now, and it's very easy visual to explain to the client. Let me scroll down here to that, for the sake of time, to that graphic, which is at the end here under the analysis. So this is the analysis of the numbers, and it gives a bunch of analysis in the numbers. Properties are selling on average 108% over the list price, and an average of 5 days. That just shows you what kind of seller's market we're in. It's unbelievable. And now again, remember, this is a different property that I'm showing here, but there's the price bracket. And then where is that graph? It's down here. Okay, this is the graph I'm going to show you. So when I talk about pricing, this is the graph I'm going to use to show you that example. But for right now, just keep in mind that properties that are priced below the market value get more showings. That's what this is saying. The ones that are priced above the market value get less showings. This triangle represents everybody that's out there looking for a property that's similar to this one in the price range, in the geographic location, in the square footage, the number of bedrooms, whether it has a pool or not, and single story or not. That's all figured into this this graph, okay? And when you price things lower, you get more showings, and that's the strategies we're talking about. And so for now, you do want to include all the properties. So we're talking about Watson, and it's not included in here. So when I go through the CMA software, there is a way to include that and potentially get it in there. Okay, so now that we've got the properties identified that we want to use, okay, and let me just go through them. I used these actives. I'm not using this pending because it's an outlier. It's not the correct neighborhood. I am using these pendings. Now, we went down a little bit in square footage, and we grabbed this one at 1638. That's fine. I don't need to use that one. It's not on the same street. I'm not going to use it. I'm also going to stick to my original solds. Now, these are the 3 solds that I picked out. Let me show you why. Because remember, we don't know what condition our property is in. This is the only one we have from 2008, the photos that we have. We kind of know what it was then, but I don't know whether it's been upgraded. Now, if you get the opportunity to pre-qualify the client, that's a script called a pre-qualifying script. You can Google Mike Ferry pre-qualifying script, and that is a great pre-qualification script. In that script, it does ask some questions about whether the client has upgraded the property. So if you haven't seen it, you can find out. You can know this one. This particular one, I couldn't get this customer on the phone. She only insisted on dealing with me through text messages. I tried asking the questions. She refused to answer the questions. So it is best to ask those questions on the phone. And one of them is, have you made any upgrades? You know, I see that you bought the property in 2008. Have you made any upgrades to the kitchen, the bathrooms? Have you installed a pool? What have you done? And that way you know what you're comparing it to. If you get the opportunity to visit the property before the listing appointment, that's called a pre-listing appointment. You would pre-qualify the appointment, and as well go see the property just to walk through it, and then come back for your listing appointment. That is possible to do it that way. Then you would have seen the property firsthand, and you'd be doing a better analysis here. But anyways, here's our property. We think it's basically pretty basic. I'm going to come back over here to these properties, and here's the first of the 3 solds. Let me refresh your memory. We're under the solds. I put my check mark because of proximity on these 3, and we're going to take a look at them. Here's the pictures. It's obviously a 2-story. My subject is a single story. It is a 4-bedroom. My subject is a 3-bedroom, and it's smaller than my subject by about 200 square feet. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at it. But it is a 2-story, and let's look at it. It looks pretty nice from the outside, pretty upgraded on the inside. You know, may not be your style, may not be the same style, but I can tell you the kitchen has an island. I can tell you the kitchen's been upgraded already. I'm looking into the picture. I'm looking at windows. Have the windows been replaced? The ceilings have been scraped. This house was built in '64, so it had cottage cheese ceilings. So again, we're looking at the pictures. We're looking into the pictures. It looks like it's got pride in ownership. Okay. We're going into the kitchen. Definitely been upgraded. Stainless steel appliances. Center island. Recessed lighting in the kitchen. Those were not standard in 64. Okay, look at the doors. See if the doors have been replaced. An older home has the solid core doors, solid face doors, where these have the 6-panel doors. That means somebody's gone through and renovated the property and completely redone the doors. In 64, they had solid single panel doors. Okay, stuff like HVAC and water heater, and look for tankless water heater. There's a nice outside patio, gives this property additional living space. It has a pool. Ours does not, that I'm aware of. Okay, so this in my opinion is a superior property. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to look at this and say, you know what, if our property hasn't been upgraded, it's not. This is superior. There's a good example of the doors. You can see that somebody. Let me go back to that picture. I just noticed it. So you look at this picture of this bedroom. Look, see, these are single panel doors. Whoever they replaced that door downstairs, but they did not replace all the doors. The doors upstairs are single panel doors. And the windows, look, if you can look at the windows look like they've been replaced at some point. Now that's a big upgrade. Windows are expensive. See, these are been replaced. They're the 6-panel doors, where this one has not. I'm just trying to give you some things that I look at when I'm doing this type of analysis. Okay, so this is, we're going to say, is a superior property. Let's go to the next one. That is, now remember, this is a model match to our subject. And it is, let's go through the property and look at it. Backyard similar, no pool, that's good. Okay, look at that carpet, pretty haggard. You know, not staged. Ceilings look, that bathroom's original. You can tell by that vanity. You can tell by the shower. You can tell by the floor, and that countertop is original. Cabinets are all original. Looks like the windows, it's hard to tell, but looks like the windows may be original as well. Okay, look at that haggard. It's pretty rough. Now, I would say this is possibly similar to our listing or inferior. If our subject property has not been upgraded since 2008, it probably looks a lot like this, but I won't know until I go see it. You can just see how dated this looks. Okay, so this would be either similar or inferior, or inferior to ours, but could be similar. And then the next checked one, look, model match to ours. We've got 2 model matches as a sold comp. That's all you need, folks. You don't need to have 100 properties in your CMA. Now look at this one's got upgraded flooring. The ceilings have been scraped. It's got color on the walls. It's bright. Okay, that bathroom has been redone at some point. It's got glass shower doors. It's got shows well, outdoor barbecue area. The yard is manicured more than ours potentially, and that inferior property. It's got a nice patio cover on it. Colors are a little bit funky in the living room, and the tile is not the most expensive tile. Looks like they've got 2 different tile floors here, and that never does well with a listing. Multiple different flooring, like one floor, this floor, and this floor, all different. That's not good. Any listing that you have, that is going to definitely stigmatize the property, and it's going to hurt you when you show it. Buyers have a hard time envisioning their stuff around other people's stuff. So a really cluttered home, or a home that has multiple types of floorings or really funky colors, definitely going to hurt your marketing ability of that home. So you definitely want to bake that into your price when you're recommending a price. Okay, you can see the different floorings. Looks like that maybe it's the same flooring, they just altered the pattern here. Look, diagonal pattern here, straight pattern here, straight pattern here. Could be the same flooring, but that's what that looks a little. This got an addition off the back. Okay, home shows pretty nicely. Okay, bathroom, the kitchen has not been upgraded. It's been upgraded since the original kitchen, but not recently. This is probably done back in the 80s or 90s when they did this, because tile counters were in then, oak was in then, you know, so it's clean, but it's not freshly updated. Anyway, so this could be similar. This could be our similar property, and the one previous to this could be our inferior property. Okay, but that's the ones I'm going to use. So now that I'm done with my comp selection, I'm going to come down here to CMA, Cloud CMA. Remember, I have already gone into Cloud CMA and set up the Cloud CMA software. I've put in my resume. I've put in my unique value proposition into it. Okay, and so that's already in here, and I'm going to show you where that is. So I click that, and this is going to take me into the property, into the CMA report. Okay, so this is the CMA, and so really there's just a few fields that need to be filled out on this particular portion of creating the CMA, and that's right here where it says client. So you can see here I put in Maria and Barton Homes, their name, and then here I put in their address, and when you type that in, it populates from the title record. So it pulled in 4-bedroom, 2-bath. You want to make sure this is all correct. It pulled in, and then I toggled residential. And this picture, I actually went on Google Images and did a street view, and I used the snippet tool to get this picture. So I have not physically been to the property, but this is the picture. Now, if I wanted to, when I delivered the pre-listing package, I could take a picture of the outside of the property, and that is the picture that I would use here. But in this case, I went ahead and just took it off of the Google Images, which was from a year ago. Okay, so if I scroll down here, you can see here, then these are the MLS numbers that it pulled in from my MLS search, where we identified which properties I wanted to use as the comparables. I could also come over here and toggle this particular option, which would give me the ability to use the CMA to pull listings in. And it's going to use this criteria, at least 10 listings, 7 months back, and any additional criteria. But see how it says the or right here? I personally choose this option, and I bring in the MLS numbers from my MLS search. So I'm using the MLS to figure out which comparables I want to use, and then I just use the CMA to create the report. I'm not using the CMA to actually search for comparables, and that's what this site is here. Okay, so once that's done, I'm going to click here, or up here, I'm going to click Update Listings. And you can see here I can toggle back and forth between the 4 pages. And once that's done, it's going to go over to my next section. Now, I told you a little bit earlier that I've already set up this CMA, and I'm going to point out to you where those areas are that you need to set up in advance, so that each time you create a CMA, it's already done. And that's your resume, your mission, vision, values, and perspective, and your unique value proposition. What makes you different than other agents? All of that is preloaded in there. You could also preload a seller's net sheet, and that's where you come in here and you put in, escrow, title, home warranty, transaction fee. You can load all this stuff in there. I actually use a title tool to do that, but if you wanted to, you could do that right here. And when you do that, I personally put in a range price here. You can see here 670 to 800,000, because that's what we determined our range was on this particular CMA. You could put an individual price in here, just a single price like 700,000. That's the only way this seller's net sheet option will work. If you put a range like I did, this option doesn't work. And that's where I would go to the title tool, and I use that. So you can see here's all the MLS numbers that I loaded in. I can physically add a separate listing. And let's say I found one on the real list report that wasn't sold in the MLS. It was a for sale by owner that was sold outside the MLS. This is where I would add that listing. You can see that that out of these listings, oops, sorry about that. Out of these listings, it's 2 of them are active, 1's pending, and there are 4 solds, and it's giving my median and average numbers here. It's also pulling up the map here. So I'm just going to hit Customize Report. And here's the Customized Report. And so you can see here my cover letter. I can click that. This is the cover letter that I loaded in, which talks about what's important to me. It's a little brief introduction. We believe in relationships, ingenuity, teamwork, and being enlightened. And you can see it's got some branding down here. That was something that's preloaded in. My agent resume, I preloaded this in. And I will do a whole separate video on creating this for you. Obviously, I've been in real estate since 2005, so I have a lot of real estate stuff I could put here. You could use the team and put, instead of a perspective of you, you could put a perspective of the team, some things that we've done, or if not the team, the company. What has the company done? And you could put company statistics here on things that the company's been able to achieve, like being the fastest growing real estate company, which eXp is. And you can see here, this has got some personal information about me. And then going in here, even stuff that's not related to real estate, but related to my previous careers is all in here. And then finally, our company. We do have information loaded in here about the company. And I actually took this from Keller Williams. They call it the Y4C2Ts, but I just felt that this is a really good explanation of my value system and how it's win-win or no deal, integrity, do the right thing, customers always come first, commitment in all things, communication. Okay, and then our mission, vision, values, and perspective. I actually do need to come over here, and I'm going to edit this. If I wanted to edit this, I would come over here to our company and I would click edit. And this is just something I've been meaning to do because it always prints out on lopsided. Let me show you here what I'm talking about. See, I can just edit that there and hit save. And once it's done, I think it's done saving, I can hit here and go our company. And now you can see here, there's our company along with this now on a second page, which it was always like lopsided over 2 pages. Okay, so that is the preloaded section. The rest of this, how to contact me, that, obviously you want to make sure all this is correct. This is all your preloaded section. Now over here on the left side, you can add in specific components to the CMA, which is important to you. These kind of move, like I can drag and drop these and move these around. So analysis chapter and comparative property statistics, you could move those around and you can customize this however you'd like. Once you're done, you're going to hit publish report. And this is what I really like about this Cloud CMA, is what it's called. There you go. It is loading up the customized report. What I really like about the Cloud CMA is that it gives you 2 versions. It gives you a PDF version. It also gives you a live version that you could use on a laptop or an iPad. So if you did want to present this to the client in your listing presentation, you would go ahead and click live view. And this is going to give you a live view of the CMA that you would pull up on your browser. And you can see here everything that's pulled forward for the Watson Avenue property. It's got the picture, it's got the map, it's got our company, agent resume. It's going to pull all that data in and make it look really nice. It's going to also talk about what is a CMA and give you, so this is if you wanted to send them a live link in an email, or if you wanted to present. Here's a intelligent pricing. This is the graph I use to explain the difference between an auction strategy, which is pricing it low, 10% below market. You capture more buyers that way, which causes the price to then be bid up over market value, or at least to market value. Where if the dangers of overpricing, if you were to price 10% or 15% above the market value, you can see how you actually get less buyers that way, and it actually hurts you, and then people want to negotiate. And so these are a couple graphs that I use for that. And then over here, back here on the CMA, is if you wanted the PDF version, you just click this, and it's going to then give you the PDF version, which you will then print. And I actually bind that into a clear front, black background, black spiral. I use Staples. I just go to Staples and I tell them I want a black back, clear front, black spiral, and they put that in. It costs me $5, and it's bound into a nice little book. And so this is the PDF report that it's pulling up right here. And so you would just print this. Now, if you want to conserve paper, you can print it on a color front and back. That way, this would be your front page, and then your second page on the back side of the front page would be this letter, and it'll cut this down from 54 to 22 pages. Or you can just print it so that they're all on the front page, and you have 54 pages. So it's up to you. But this is your PDF version. Here's the electronic version for your presentation. And that's about it. So if you have any questions, please let me know. I hope this helps on how to achieve value and how to put together a CMA report. Talk to you guys later. Bye.